What's up, peoples? You guys seem to like the behind the scenes stuff, so this is how I got cast in Enemy of the State. This story is probably one of my favorite casting stories. It's a reason why I get so fed up with Hollywood today. And I'll have more of these because I think you get an insight into who I am. I even have to relive them myself to realize, Jesus Christ, like what are we talking about here? I did Scream 2, and that was in the can, and I was pretty much getting a movie every 3 months. Like if I went a month or two without a movie, I'm like, where's the next movie, you know? I had a nice group over there at APA, and my agent Carl Rumba. What's up, Carl? Where you at, dude? So Carl was on my team. Carl sends me a script, and he says, hey man, you gotta read for this movie. It's Tony Scott, and Tony Scott, you know, Top Gun and Brother Ridley. I'm like, oh shit. So I go in. It was a Walt Disney pick. I remember when I got the script, it was Tony Scott, Jerry Bruckheimer, Will Smith, Gene Hackman, Jon Voight. Those are all the names. And I think possibly Jack Black. I think. He might have come later. I remember just going in, and I went in and it was a huge casting director, Jeannie McCarthy. Usually when you're going in for a movie, you know, it depends on where you're at, what level you're at, but usually they'll start I'll give you the basics. It's like a casting associate, and then a junior associate, and then the casting director, and then the producers, and then the director. And then if it's a really big part, the studio and screen test and all that. So I was starting to get a name for myself, so I went in, and it was Jeannie McCarthy, who's a huge casting director. Gave me a lot of breaks, cast some of your favorite movies over the last 30 years. And I think I was able just to go right in with her and the director. And that was a big thing. It's it always says on your note you get from your agent, pending your interest and availability, which I'm available always and always interested. We have set the following appointment with you Thursday, 3 p.m. at blah, 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 Culver Studios with Jeannie McCarthy, director Tony Scott, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh shit, it's already set. It's you just gotta say yes or no. So I remember, and I go in, and it's a lesser group of people when you're in there because there's only a few actors in the waiting room, and they're all they're all names that you know from other movies. I go in, and they gave me some copy, and it said tech number 2, literally tech number 2. Now I had been Samson. I had a name, and Romeo and Juliet as the character's name was Samson, and then Randy obviously was Randy, and then I had Scream 2 coming out, and I just did As Good as It Gets, which, you know, I was literally on the page it said Gay Hustler number 1 or 2. That's what it was. So literally I was getting those roles where you were numbers and then working my way up to names. So this was another number type of role, but it was the creme de la creme of Hollywood. Tony was really smart in the sense of, besides all that package that he put together, which was just foolproof, then he put all of the young Hollywood 90s up and coming bros in it. You know what I mean? And we all read and mix and match, and some of us got in it and some of us didn't, but it was everybody, all the usual suspects. I remember going in, and I just had oh, he's up 10th Street there, sir, to the left. Wait, he lost his tracking device. Well, how can we track him if he doesn't have a tracker? You know, stuff like that. I think I just remember going in, and Jeannie was always the sweetest person to me, and she's a huge casting director, and it's always nice and welcoming, really welcoming. And I go in, and I'll tell you to remember as much as I can. I just remember going in, and Tony Scott's in there, and he's got the hat, he's got this thing on, right? And they're do you have any questions? I'm no, I think it's pretty straightforward, you know, all right. And then I just do it, and then stuff, and then I have to remember his voice, but he's if I can do it what you want to do, how you say you want to do it, you know, do your own way, yeah. I think that's how he talked. I remember he had a more of a gravelly. I was so I can improvise? Yeah, I got it. He had a cigar. See, all the Europeans are the best when you read for them. So I just started making up stuff. I'm wait, does he have a tracker? I think I saw him down by the Pita Hut. I did it twice in the room. He just stopped at the end of the audition. He goes, yeah, he's you're funny, man, you're funny. He kept saying that. He's yeah, I like it a lot. And I was okay. And He's like, there's not a lot of words on that on the page, but you get it there, you can make it around, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what's the character's name? And it said like tech number 2, and he's like, well, what's your name again? And I said, it's Jamie, and he goes, yeah, the character's name's Jamie. It's Jamie Tick. Jamie Tick. So I believe if you look at the script, the character's name was Jamie Tech. And I think Seth Green was Seth Tech. So like, he's like, He's like, hey, try that, just improvise some more, okay? Do it, whatever fuck you want, say a word, So I would make up shit. Like, I saw him running in front of a coffee shop. It looked like it was a Starbucks. Starbucks was not big in 97. It was just starting out in terms of mainstream. So I just remember making it up. I remember him laughing. I remember Jeannie laughing. And he said, that's great, man, it's great. You got any plans on the holiday? And I was like, no, not really. And he goes, you want to make a movie? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. All right, you get the fuck out of here. And I was like, does that mean I got it? He goes, yeah, get the fuck out of here. And I left and I felt like, I think he just like cast me, but I wasn't sure. I mean, and that's the thing, is like I was basically went in, said the lines on the paper, saw the character's name, asked him what the name was. He said, what's your name? He renamed it my name. We played around. He said, do what you want. I did it. He said, get the fuck out of here. And the next thing I know, I got a call from my agent. My agent's like, yo, you ready to go to Baltimore? Like, I got a call like the next day. And I was like, for how long? He's like, for 5 months. But I want to say is that's how, a couple of things. That's how the movie business was. Okay, TV's always been hell because they overthink everything. And even though it's different now in terms of creative, it used to be less artistic, meaning it was artistic, but it's very hard to get a Seinfeld. If you read anything about Seinfeld, it was made outside the system almost because they didn't know what the fuck they had. And then by that time, it was too big. No one could fuck with it. All in the Family, different shows like that. But like, movies as a studio, but it's less intrusive. And especially with all those, titans involved with it. You could sit there and you could sit with a legacy director. This is a world all-time legacy director. Tony Scott's name will be on the legacy of Hollywood. I got to sit with him. It was like, just play around, have fun. No pressure, goof around, tell us a joke here and there. That's it. It's like, it was easy. No one overthought it. And now with all these different streaming platforms and indies and all that stuff, you've never seen more people overthinking shit. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was beautiful. And I remember my agent called me. My agent's like, look, man, here's the offer. A little less than half of what I made on Scream 2. And I was like, well, that's not bad. But I go, dude, I'm like, what about my number? And he's like, yeah, well, it's like a smaller part. There's a lot of people in this movie, but you're going to be part of a legacy movie. And he's like, it's Disney. That's what everyone say, by the way. This is the truth. They say, well, it's Disney. They're tight. Disney's tight. Which everyone's like, what? Disney's tight? What the fuck? Which they are. I'm going to tell you two things. They say, well, Disney's tight. And I'm like, it's Disney, dude. And there's like, well, I know. They had Hollywood Pictures. They had Buena Vista Pictures. They had Pixar's ramping up. Remember, Pixar was early. This was early Pixar. And he's like, and then they had Walt Disney Classic Pictures. So at the time of this, they were making they had maybe movie studios make 5 movies a year now. If they're studios, they were making 20 movies a year per division. Like Disney was putting out maybe 15. They were putting out between 4 divisions, fucking 15 movies per, fucking 60 movies. Disney was for every weekend there was Disney product in the fucking theater, sometimes 2. In a way, I'm like, how the fuck can Disney be cheap? But in a way, I totally understood it because they're fucking reach and they're expanding, and I knew they were acquiring stuff and they were working with Pixar, and I had read about that. And my agent's like, look, dude, it's a little less than what you usually get, but it's not that big of a role. Top tier cast. I'm like, my name, paid ads. He's like, no, your name's not gonna be in the poster, but you're gonna be single block billing. I think it was double block. I think I shared it, possibly with Bodie Elfman. Not sure. And he's like, it's Disney, dude. He's like, their residuals, they'll pay, dude. As a side note, the movie is more relevant today than it was then. It came out, huge critical acclaim, huge success, totally put Will Smith into his next phase of his career, where he wasn't just big comedy action. Now he could do drama action. Till eventually he just can do anything Will Smith. Like, incredible. I swear, some of the biggest residual checks I ever get from this movie. It's on all the time. It's more relevant. It's almost 25 years deep, and it's like people are like stuff starting to come true from it. But so my agent goes and he tells me, he's like, you got it, this is the money. He's like, just do it. And I was like, okay. And I never remember going to the airport and I look and there's somebody checking in first class, another guy, that fucking suitcase and backpack and a huge fucking pillow. I'm like, and it's Scott Conn. He's like, dude, you're in this? I go, Enemy? He goes, Enemy. And I'm like, you're in this? He's like, yeah, I'm in this. I'm like, dude. And we hugged. And it was just on. It was just like, boom, you saw one of your buddies. There was another tech role. And I remember that the other tech role was there. And I'm like, who's going to be this other tech role? And the role was like tech number 1. And it said like Seth. And I'm like, no. Because at the time, there was only one other Seth. And I'm like, and Scott's like, I think it's Seth Green. I was like, is he in it? I'm like, did they name it after him? And they're like, oh no, I think it was just like, so he did what he had earlier and then applied it. And so we end up shooting a whole bunch of the movie. And then we did all these other scenes in a contained studio in a box. And I'll never forget that Seth Green came in later. And I'm like, how's this dude not in all the other stuff? How's he's in this part of the movie. We're all in this other part of the movie and this part of the movie. And he's like, well, they had to work his schedule because he was shooting another movie. And I'm like, what movie? And they're like, Idle Hands. And I was like, fuck. Idle Hands was because he was busy shooting that movie. So he could do that movie and this movie. And that was a movie I read for like twice. I was like, fuck. I really wanted to be in that movie so bad. So he was like our head tech guy, which was also crazy because my name was Jamie. His name was Seth. Our characters ended up, I think Tony Scott met us and just built the characters around us. It was like somewhat of a character there, but he way let us just more and more. This is an example of cool screen time. So, Seth came and then we just started improvising a lot with Bodie, and me and him and Bodie would just improvise all the time. I mean, it was fun. And how can you go wrong when you have one of the, titans of Hollywood just like letting you go? To show you how this movie works, I get down to that movie within like the first week of Baltimore. It's fucking balls sucked up to your fucking chest cold. And I had a bomb ass trailer. And all I said was like, please tell me this heat works. And the fucking heat was like, like, there's that blanket, man. Use it. Take a nap. And I just go in, and I don't know, back in those days, man, I would get to set and I would sleep. I think it was because in the beginning I knew the pressure wasn't on because I was an HPE, which Scotty Conn came up with, which is a great term, high paid extra. And that means that like you're doing a lot of stuff in scenes, but you're kind of around, but you have a good part and you get good billing, but you have a line here and a word there. It's called HPE, we call it, high paid extra. For the first day, I was so tired. And like, we're not going to use you probably till after lunch. You're fine. Just get in here. And I went in and I fucking got me up and I slept. And I remember a knock on the door. It was like 3 o'clock. And they're like, we may use you last shot of the day. And I was like, all right. And they're like, you don't have any lines. And I was like, okay, cool. And then they knock. And I'm like, what's up? They go, let's wrap. And we did that the second day. We did that the third day. For the first like 8 days, all I did was sleep in my trailer. It was fucking amazing. And I was really tired then. So I don't know if it's because I was working so much or it was cold or whatever. And like from the early on, when I got these big movies, I always learned that they're just not going to get to you right away. And people would I loved it. I had my own trailer and my first shot was like a line or a half a line or a look or a stare or that whole first 2 months of that movie, me and Scott Conn were saying we're in the best shape of our life because all we would do was run. He went left. He's up there. So we would be chasing him for a while, and then we had a whole other section with the scenes with Seth Green when we were in there monitoring. It's like we had to set the monitors up, and then we went. I just remember running down the streets of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore all the time. There's an example of a great movie with an incredible cast, an incredible crew, incredible people, writers. I think Tony Gilroy wrote it. From top to bottom, producers, directors, writers, actors. It's a lot easier. And you look at the product. It stands the test of time. Thanks, guys, for watching. Seriously, Really love doing this. If you like it, subscribe, get the bell to notify you so you can do it at work, and leave comments. You know I'll heart you. Thanks, guys. I don't feel like anyone's talking. They're blockers. That's not why I came to Hollywood. You know how fucking backwards that is? Shit.
I hate to break it to you.